Hi there. This is a review of my 10 favorite topics from the semester in lean leadership. So, first off, I decided to go towards the beginning of the semester looking at something called audits. Um, Something that I really enjoyed learning about audits was because it was something that connects a lot to my personal work experience. So we do a lot of audits in terms of like reviewing our processes, reviewing the things that we're doing in the store. So every single year, an audit that we do is a training scorecard, and I sit down with my corporate training manager and audit the entire training system, everything from onboarding to orientations to the things that we're doing to put training materials in place, and we score everything, and then we kind of go through and find the things that maybe aren't being done as well or things that we can coach through, opportunities we have to do better. So it was kind of cool seeing the it's like a gut check for myself to kind of see what can be improved and what is doing or what's going really well so far. Next is a Gemba walk. For me, this is like a walk finding waste, or things that time is wasted. We do something called taste and temp every single day where we check for waste, check for things that are inaccurate or inconsistent compared to the things that we or the way that we want things to be. So we walk through and test the way food is being cooked, the recipe in the front, like walking through and making sure that everything is like ready to go for the restaurant to open every single day. Inconsistencies in like cleanliness, and like things that will be wasted later on, having to go back and fix them. Constraint was my next one. A couple constraints that I experience day to day. Wait, the uh, things that are like not allowing us to be busier or do more production would be like the size of our restaurant. Um, Not being bigger constrains us to less guests, less parties. And also, something that was in the past that I saw as a constraint was the inability to see as much during like COVID restrictions. So having to adjust our seating or the amount of people we were bringing in due to COVID restrictions and having to limit that was also a constraint on bringing business in. Next was Jidoka. Our POS system kind of automates the process of writing orders down and giving it to the kitchen. So Jidoka is the automation of a process instead of a human being doing it, a process automates it. So a server or a waiter or a waitress, instead of writing every single order down, they put this order into the computer and it automates it and sends it straight to the kitchen. All of their customizations, all of their items, all of their allergies, all goes in instead of having to write it down and give it to the kitchen. It does it for them. Muda, this is something that is like a waste of like a waste of a process that doesn't give any benefit. So for this, it would be the restaurant being open, but no guests coming in and no orders being placed. So we're not receiving any benefit out of putting something in, or a process or working, because nobody's coming in and utilizing the facility, the food, anything like that. Murray was my next one, or Muri. Would this one was one that I could apply to a couple different areas, but for me, this was when you overwork a process or a worker, and you continue to overstretch their boundaries or things that they're doing into too much over time. This would be multiple hiring processes occurring all at once and it being a lot to manage. Sometimes when you're bringing employees in and you're hiring them over the span of a week or two, but their processes all start to overlap and kind of are at different spots, but they're all happening at the same time, it can become very overwhelming and confusing because you have one person that's starting in a week, one person starting in two, but they're all in different spots going through the process at the same time. So it can become a lot to manage. And if you're not organized, it can become very stressful along with all of your other tasks that you're managing. This is just kind of adding on to that. Pacemaker is the next one. An example I had mentioned, the pacemaker kind of sets the pace for the rest of the things that are following whatever this process is. So resume collection at career fairs. When collecting resumes, we don't have an automated process right now, or a Jidoka that helps us take away from having to scan and email individually all of these resumes. So it becomes a very lengthy process trying to scan all of them and get them into our system so that we can review them a little bit easier and send them to managers. So right now, every single resume that we get from a career fair, we have to upload to our system and then email individually based on the resume and its qualifications to each manager. So it's just a lengthy process, and it sets the pace for everything after and typically kind of holds things up a little bit. Pokeyoke, this is kind of like the way I saw it, our AGM system, or the system with tables. This helps like eliminate defects, or a system that helps eliminate imperfections or issues. Our AGM system, or our table seating system, allows for an automated wait time and kind of gives us the wait time and helps us quote tables based on where our tables are in the restaurant, how many people we have waiting already, what our night looks like, how busy we are. So it really helps eliminate inconsistency in the wait time that we're giving people and the timing on the tables that are coming up. Yokoten was one that is discussing the rollout of like processes over an entire company or over an entire business over multiple locations. So at the company I work at, the way that they roll out different processes and training and stuff is they group it together in specific store sets. So in a market, there's about 10 to 15 stores. So they'll roll it out in sets like that. So when that is happening, they pick specific days at specific times to roll everything out. And one of our training managers will kind of go around and ensure that it's being rolled out the right way and kind of ensure that the training is being used to roll things out. And there's a lot of communication that comes out too. So everything's kind of getting rolled out all together. And then last is changeover. The best example I could think of, or the process of like changing over to a new process, was our to-go processes changing during COVID. We went from being fully dine-in to cutting down to only carry-outs, and then opening up and doing carry-out and partial dine-in, depending on the restrictions that were in Michigan at the time. And then we went back to just carry-out, and then we went back to being both. So we went through a lot of different changes at that time to kind of work through adjusting to the restrictions and the ways that we had to do things, but our to-go process changed over time too. So we had to adjust doing drive-up service, doing curbside service, taking more orders than we were used to taking because we couldn't serve people inside the restaurant. So it was a big change, but we used processes to help change through, train our staff, and make sure that we were processing the way that we wanted to do things the right way. So yeah, those are my 10 favorite or like best example definitions and terms that we learned. And thank you for such a great semester.